I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the March 18th meeting.
Second motion.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes for March 18th, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Let's move on then to item 4, communications from staff and committees and potential development report.
Nothing additional to report at this time.
Okay. Any committee members have any questions about anything?
No.
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's move on to, go ahead and move on to the main part of the agenda here, number 5. I'd like to welcome everyone and lay out a few ground rules which will apply to each public hearing that we have tonight. By state statute, the governing body does not have to hold an additional public hearing on these matters, although they may listen to whomever they wish. You will be asked if there's any new information which was not heard at these hearings. It's to everyone's advantage if you present all the necessary information at these hearings. For each case, the city zoning administrator provides the commission with the background information. I will call upon the applicant. Public comments will be heard following the applicant. Once all have been heard, the applicant will have an opportunity for final comments. The Planning Commission will close the hearings to public comments and will consider the 14 factors on which to base the recommendation. During this time, the commission may direct questions to the applicant, the public, and/or city staff. You should be aware that the Planning Commission can recommend that the site be platted or replatted if necessary, and that a site plan may be required for approval. You should be aware that any uses permitted outright in a district by the regulations can receive a zoning permit. Furthermore, if the applicant chooses to describe various features of their development plans, the city can only enforce those provisions which are covered in city zoning and other city codes. Anyone wishing to speak must be recognized by the chairperson and give their name and address. Please use the podium and speak clearly so that your comments can be recorded for inclusion into our minutes. Official notices for these hearings were published on the City of Andover Municipal website on March 22nd, 2025. The notices were mailed to the applicant and all real property owners of record in the areas of notification on March 21st, 2025. The record shows that at least 20 days have elapsed between the publication and mailing dates and the hearing date. Unless there is evidence to the contrary from anyone present, I will declare that the proper notification has been given. Although we do not encourage such communications, I'll ask the commission if any of them have received any ex parte verbal or written communication prior to these hearings which they'd like to share. All right, thank you. Let's go ahead then and call agenda item 5.1, which is a public hearing on case number Z-SU25-0001. Before we proceed with the hearing, I'll ask the commission members if any of them intend to disqualify themselves from participating in this case because they or a relative own property in the area of notification or have any conflicts of interest.
No.
I'll now call upon the city zoning administrator to provide us with a report on this case.
Well, Mr. Chairperson, this is a multi-tenant retail space along West Central Avenue. The applicant intends to open a business for pet grooming and in the future potentially pet boarding. Neither of these are listed as special uses for the zoning district in our UDM, but there is a provision under all of the special use definitions that says that uses that are within the intent and spirit of the zoning regulations can be considered for a special use. Staff believes that this is well within that definition of a reasonable use for this space, and rezoning it with the existing patrons would be much more of an ordeal.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the zoning administrator? No. I'll now call upon the applicant to make his or her presentation on the request and any response to the zoning administrator. Is the applicant here tonight?
She does not appear to be.
Okay. Any members of the public that would like to speak on this case? Any written communication been received?
No, sir.
Okay. Hearing no further public comments, I hereby close the public portion of the hearing. There will be no further public comments unless the commission wishes to ask questions to clarify the information. The Planning Commission will not deliberate the request. There are 14 factors which the commission must consider in order to make findings and ultimately a recommendation.
Mr. Chairperson,
Yes.
before we go further, I had a question for the applicant. If it's going to be for pet boarding, is there a yard suitable for walking the animals outside? Place for them to do their business?
Yeah, you can't really see it in our aerials because it's kind of zoomed out, but there is a small yard to the rear of the building that is going to be enclosed. Actually, there's a fence permit open right now for that exact purpose.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I do have one question too before we jump in. So on the legal implications, that second paragraph, would this have to be renewed annually? Or does this fall under one of the areas that if it's passed, it can just move the subsection 12-101.C1? It says that it has to meet one of the conditions in that. Does this project meet one of those conditions if approved? Just so they don't have to come back annually?
Right. It's not an annual renewal.
Okay.
It has to be acted upon within a year.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just misunderstood that.
No, I had the same. question.
Okay. Because I was like, I don't want them to have to keep coming back annually.
Yeah, very good. I can read those findings. Do adequate sewage disposal and water supply and all other necessary public facilities, including street access, exist, or can they be provided to serve the uses which would be permitted on the subject property if the change in zoning were approved? Staff, the subject property is served with public streets, water, and sewer. 2, if the special use request was approved, would the subject property need to be platted or replatted or have in lieu of dedications made in order to provide needed rights-of-way, easements, building setback lines, or access control? Staff, the property is already platted. 3, if the special use request was approved, would the subject property need a screening plan for existing or potential uses? Staff, the applicant will be installing a fence on the rear of the building to screen any outdoor activities that may be associated with the business. 4, what fact-based information in support of or in opposition to the requested zoning change has staff received? Staff, none at this time. 5, if there has been an error in the application of these zoning regulations to the subject property, would the requested zoning change correct the error? Staff, no errors are known to exist. 6, how suitable or unsuitable is the subject property for its current use? Staff, the subject property is currently a multi-use retail location and is suitable for the current zoning district. Concur. 7, is the length of time the subject property has been vacant or undeveloped under its current zoning a factor in the special use request? Staff, no. Concur. 8, how reasonably well suited will the requested special use of the subject property be with the current zoning of the nearby properties? Staff, the proposed use would be well suited. It would be similar in intensity to the surrounding business uses.
Concur.
9, has a special use been requested because conditions in the area of the subject property have changed or are changing? If so, what is the nature and significance of these conditions? Staff, no.
Concur.
10, what are the current land uses, character, and condition of the subject property and the surrounding neighborhood? Staff, the subject property is surrounded by similar retail and service businesses, as well as medium-density two-family homes to the south. The character of the subject property is not expected to substantially change if the special use were approved.
Concur.
11, would the proposed special use of the subject property allow land uses which might have detrimental effects on nearby properties? If so, how? Staff, no.
Concur.
12, how would the requested special use conform with the city's comprehensive plan and other adopted master plans and policies? Staff, the requested special use would fit well into the city center place type, which encourages medium to higher density retail and service businesses uses near main access corridors such as Central Ave. Concur. 13, do any professional persons knowledgeable on conditions that affect the special use request have information or recommendations to provide which would be useful in its evaluation? Staff supports the proposed special use application.
Concur.
14, how would the potential loss in value or hardship imposed on the applicant compared to the relative gain to the public health, safety, and welfare if there is a change from the current use to the requested use? Staff, the change would have no foreseeable adverse impact on public health, safety, or welfare.
Concur.
Having discussed and reached conclusions on our finding of fact, I would remind the commission remind the commission that a proper motion should reflect the factors on which it's based. And if approval is recommended, then consideration should be given to any conditions that might be attached. Is there a motion to either recommend approval, modification and approval, disapproval, or table the discussion?
Mr. Chairperson, having considered the evidence at the hearing and the factors to evaluate the application, I, Gary Israel, move that we recommend to the governing body that case number Z-PUD 25-0002 be approved based on the findings of the Planning Commission on findings 6, 8, 10, and 12 as recorded in the summary of this hearing.
That's SU 25-0001.
Oh, it had in there 00, yeah, 2.
Yeah, mine says
Sorry.
2 also.
This one.
Yours does? Oh, okay.
Okay, well, I'll change
So it
that to
is one now?
0001.
This is our first special use case of the year, yes.
Okay. All right. So just to be clear, it's 0001, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. SU. Okay, very good.
Open
Oh.
the most recent agenda document.
Yeah, so the paper has SU. I was reading online.
Maybe I
Sorry.
didn't.
Okay,
Okay.
very good. We have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Does this,
Nope.
does this business exist in town today? They're just moving it?
No, this would be a new business.
Okay.
That's so strange.
These cases will be forwarded to the governing body.
How did they get that?
Hang on a second here. Online, okay, paper here, okay. Yeah, what's online is different from the paper. All right, these cases will be forwarded to the governing body with the planning commission's recommendation and a written summary of the hearing for consideration at the regular meeting of May 13, 2025. The recording of these, this should have been a part of the original intro, shouldn't it? I think I should have done that. No? Okay. The recording of these hearings will be retained for at least 60 days after the final determination is completed on this case. Protest petitions against these cases but not directed at the commission's recommendations as such may be received by the city clerk for 14 days after tonight, April 29th, 2025 at 4:30 p.m. If there are properly signed protest petitions with accurate legal descriptions from the owners of record of 20% or more of the total real property owners within the official areas of notification, both inside and outside of the city, and not counting public street rights of way or specific statutorily excluded property, then such a change shall not be passed except by a 3/4 vote of all members of the city council. All right. Let's move on to item 5.2 then.
Mr. Chairperson, this is an annexation petition for a little sliver of land that is intended to be a part of the Southern Hills First Edition. As you can see on our map here, it's the red square, red rectangle. It's about an acre's worth of land making up part of that reserve and then a tiny bit of the rear yard of a couple of those lots there. It seems that in the platting process, this was just missed as not having been already incorporated into the city. So we're kind of just cleaning up the boundaries so that this plat can be finalized.
Any questions? No? So it's a part of that reserve right there,
Mhm.
see, right?
Right. It's a section of that, and then you can kind of see it overlaps into,
Yeah.
I think it's 5 and 6 there, just a tiny bit.
Okay. Anyone want to make a motion?
Yeah. I'll make a motion. Mr. Chairperson, that we recommend approval of the ordinance authorizing the city of Vandover, Kansas to annex 13086 Southwest Butler Road as described in such ordinance to.
Thank you, Dave. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Let's move on to 5.3, the final PUD at Vista Ridge, first phase.
Yes, this is the first phase of the Vista Ridge second, to be clear. This is kind of the southernmost part of that final PUD. The preliminary was approved back in February, from the February Planning Commission meeting. And then this is 36 of the lots that are intended for the totality of the Vista Ridge second. This includes 2 of the reserves A and B, and will be connected directly to Yorktown Parkway.
Okay. Any questions of staff on this one?
If I may ask, what were some of the little comments that were added to this?
Really just small cleanup things on the document, nothing that actually needs to change in the content.
Thank you.
So the recommended action says approve with modifications.
Right, the modification being those cleanup items
The cleaning
that
up.
we
Okay.
recognized.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm catching up now.
And this was reviewed in subdivision as well, right?
Yes.
It's been a while, but yes.
Yeah. Anyone want to make a motion?
Sure. I'll make that motion. I, Gary Israel, make a motion to approve with modifications. The modifications being the cleaning up of some verbiage for the Vista Ridge second edition, first phase, final planned unit development plan, and recommend that the governing body accept the dedications of land for public purposes.
Thank you, Gary. I have a motion. Do we have a second?
David Foley, second.
Dave Foley, second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item 5.4, which is the zoning, the county zoning at 2612 East Highway 54.
This might look familiar. You have seen this property before for a case with the county. This and then final agenda item that we have are on this same property here. The owner has applied to the county to rezone, and as you will subsequently see, they have also applied to split the lot. The same situation applies as when we heard it before. This is within the city's planning area. And so the county is to defer to us to have it annexed before development can occur. I guess the owner is resistant to that, but your recommendation last time held weight and it will again this time. Staff obviously would like this to be annexed, and then we can rezone it to one of the city's zoning districts rather than the RE district that they requested.
Sure. Any questions? Seems pretty straightforward.
And much like last time, your
Yeah.
motion is a recommendation to Butler County.
Would anyone like to speak in this case? No? Okay.
Is the applicant okay with the annexation? Have they commented?
We've heard from the county zoning administrator that the applicant prefers not to, but the county's own regulations say in this scenario where a property is within the city's extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction and within the city's comprehensive planning area, that they should be referred to the city for annexation and plating on any request for change in zoning.
Okay. So we haven't heard anything from the applicant saying, nope, I refuse,
We have not.
okay.
Nobody wants to speak? No? All All right. Anyone make a motion? So it would be a recommendation, not a require, right? On the first word, or would it be require for the motion there? Require the remand the application.
I guess what our recommended action is for you all to have the planning commission reject the application outright,
Okay,
since they don't have jurisdiction.
I follow you. Okay. Go for it.
I, Dan Colson, recommend that we require that the Butler County Planning Commission remand the application for a zoning change at 2612 East Highway 54 back to the city of Andover, and further require that the subject property be annexed to the corporate limits of the city of Andover before development.
Thank you.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Let's then move on to item 5.5, which is the lot split of the same property.
As I said, yep, same property. In this case, it's two separate applications. This one, the applicant wishes to split that lot into two, as you can see, and then the two parts were to be rezoned at the same time.
Any questions of staff?
You may recall that the city of Andover has extraterritorial jurisdiction for subdivision purposes. This case lies within that ETJ. So the county really has no jurisdiction here. It's an Andover subdivision matter and should be remanded to the city of Andover.
Where does I looked earlier today and I'm probably missing it. Where does the entrance actually come from? The easternmost parcel apparently, because there's other properties on the west?
Right, there's an existing house that you can kind of see in
Yeah.
this survey,
Yeah,
which has an access point near it.
so would both parcels going forward have to share that entrance, or how does, I mean?
Sure, as we would get into the
Apparently.
details on this,
Yeah,
we would require that it be platted. We would forward that plat to the DOT, and they would give recommendations on where they believe access should be. If you look at the aerial photos, you'll see that there is an existing median crossover. It's a little hard to see
Yeah, I can
there,
see
but there is a median crossover about in the center of that property that I'm
Oh.
sure KDOT would require that be the location of the access point.
okay. Yeah, all right, very good. Any more questions of staff?
This same property was before the Butler County Planning Commission from the last meeting, right?
There was an application a month ago that the applicant had asked for commercial and storage units in the ag zone, and I pointed out to the county that those aren't permitted uses in the ag zone.
I recall that. So they've had a meeting already and addressed the same property. Should be an easy thing.
Any members of the public? I assume the applicant's still not here. Any members of the public like to mention anything? No? Any other questions of staff?
So what would be next for this applicant? That we start the annexation process and then?
We're recommending that the applicant petition the city for annexation,
Okay,
apply for a zone change in the city, and submit a plat.
So the house is probably on private septic and water now. They
Correct. There is no public sewer
available.
nearby.
Yeah, okay. Any more questions? Anyone want to make a motion?
I can do it again. That's fine.
Go for it.
I, Dan Colson, move that we require that the Butler County Planning Commission remand the application for a zoning change at, wait, excuse me. Yep, at zoning change at 2612 East Highway 54 back to the city of Andover, and further require that the subject property be annexed into the corporate limits of the city of Andover before development.
Thank you, Dan. We have a second?
I'll second.
All right, second by Peter. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the recommended action, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Any member items?
Are there any public things?
Yeah,
that-
we have members of the public here that, so nobody said anything throughout the meetings. Anyone have anything they wanted to mention or?
Yes, I applied for a variance 2 weeks ago. I was assuming it was on this agenda.
State law gives us a legally mandated notification period. So your variance will be on the next agenda on May the 20th.
It's required how long?
We are required to notify nearby property members at least 20 days in advance of the hearing.
So your variance will be heard at our May meeting.
We have one of these each month on the third Tuesday.
So all the property owners within, how many feet is it again?
If it is within the city, it's 200 feet. Anyone who's outside, it's 1,000 feet.
Right, so everyone got notice within that area and then 20 days have to elapse before we could see it at the meeting. That's how the rules work. Sorry about that. Thanks for coming.
I was just told that it was going to be on this agenda, so.
Oh, shoot. Sorry about that. Anybody else want to mention anything? No? Any member items? This is a short one tonight.
Yeah.
Probably one of the shortest ones I've been a part of.
I'm giddy.
You're giddy? Yeah, I understand. Oh, yes.
No, sir. Those will also most likely appear next month. It's been notified for and then pulled back and then notified and pulled back multiple times.
Yeah,
As far as we know, May the 20th. Yes.
yeah. Sorry about that. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
So, next time before you come, it all should be in the agenda. So just so you can either call or just go online and look at the agenda that's public. Everything we're looking at for the most part is available on Andover's website, the city of Andover's website, just like we would see it. So you check that, the day of, or sometimes changes are made day of. So you might want to confirm.
Sometimes, but the agenda is finalized at the latest the Friday before the meeting. So last Friday, this was all available.
Yeah. Thanks for coming. Any other member items?
Just everybody needs to be aware of all the bicyclists out on the roads with the good weather.
One of them could be Gary.
Well, I haven't been out. I've only
What
been out
color's your
once so
bike?
far. And I stay on the Red Bud Trail.
Wear sunscreen.
Hmm,
Yeah, I don't know.
What was that
I'm
from?
not sure either.
Too much time on the bicycle.
Really?
Anything from anybody else? No?
Swaying yourself.
All right. Let's adjourn the meeting then.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay. We
Second the motion.
have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes.
So that's down on